Hello and welcome to The Explainer. So every great piece of research, right, it's built on a solid literature review. But let's be real. The whole process of finding, reading, and then trying to make sense of dozens of studies, it can be an absolute grind. Today, we're diving into how AI is set to completely change that game. Does this feel a little too familiar? We've all been there. That feeling of being totally lost in a sea of research. You know, you start with one simple question, and a few hours later, you're buried under a mountain of PDFs. Dozens of browser tabs are open, and you're somehow no closer to an actual answer. It just becomes this frustrating cycle, doesn't it? Endless searches, you get results that seem to contradict each other, and at the end of the day, it just feels like wasted time. But what if there was a better way to do all this? You could call it the lit review maze. It's complex, it's confusing, and it feels like it's just full of dead ends. But what if you didn't have to go through it alone? What if you had, say, a guide?
Well, the good news is there is a smarter way. AI is starting to give us a much faster path through this maze. It's a way to cut through all that noise and get right to the good stuff, the insights that are locked away inside all those papers.
So let's meet this guide. Think of it as your own personal AI research assistant, one that's designed to completely transform this whole process. Its one job? Cut through the clutter and give you clarity.
And it's called consensus. Now, the slide here calls it a tool for precise and fast reviews, which is true. But here's the key thing to remember. It's not here to replace your brain or your critical thinking. It's here to supercharge it. So what makes this thing such a game changer? Well, it's the whole workflow. It all starts with an AI search that actually gets what you're asking. Then it lets you filter everything with like surgical precision. And then it gives you these instant summaries so you know what's important right away. And as you'll see in a minute, it even lets you talk directly to the research papers. Yeah, you heard that right.
All right, so let's put it to the test. How do you actually go from having a simple question to getting real, genuine clarity? Let's walk through the whole thing, step by step. So it all starts out pretty simple. First, you sign up. Easy enough. But then, and this is the big shift, instead of trying to guess the right keywords, you just ask a direct research question in plain English. From there, you use these really powerful filters to narrow things down. For instance, you could literally just ask something as straightforward as, what are the benefits of fasting? The AI is built to understand the intent behind your question, not just the words. And it'll go find papers that directly try to answer it. It's just a much more natural way to get started. Okay, and this is where the magic really starts to happen. Once you've asked your question, you can get unbelievably specific. You want to see only, say, randomized controlled trials? You know, the gold standard of scientific evidence? Done. Or maybe just studies on humans, or only papers from the absolute top-tier journals. With just a few clicks, all the noise disappears and you're left with the most credible, relevant research.
Okay, so you found a great-looking list of papers. Awesome. But now comes the next hurdle, figuring out which ones are actually worth your time to read from top to bottom. And this is another spot where AI can save you a massive amount of effort.
This is a huge, huge time saver. Seriously, imagine being able to get the gist of a dozen papers in the time it usually takes you to just skim one abstract. That's exactly what these AI-generated snapshots let you do. Before you even think about opening a PDF, you get the core methods, the main findings, and the conclusion all laid out for you. It lets you decide in seconds what's worth a deeper dive. Now, this is already a massive improvement. But what if you could take it even further? What if you could actually, interrogate a research paper and get answers on demand without having to spend hours reading and highlighting every single page? This is where we go from just being more efficient to unlocking what honestly feels like research superpowers. These are the kinds of advanced features that can really change the entire nature of how you work.
And I mean, this comparison says it all, doesn't it? The whole workflow is just transformed. Look at the shift here. You go from playing keyword guessing games to asking direct questions, from manually digging through hundreds of papers to using precise, systematic filters. And then the really wild part, Instead of just reading and taking notes in a separate document, you're getting instant AI summaries and, get this, chatting directly with the paper to pull out insights. It's a total paradigm shift.
So let's talk about that first superpower. Chat with paper. Just imagine opening a study and instead of reading it, you just ask, hey, what are the main limitations of this study? Or what kind of future research does this paper suggest? It turns the very passive act of reading into an active analytical conversation. It's amazing.
And that second superpower is AI-assisted drafting. Consensus can actually help you generate a structured starting point for your lit review. Now, this comes with a really important bit of advice straight from the source material. This is a starting point, not the final product. You absolutely must rewrite, synthesize, and add your own unique thinking to avoid plagiarism and to create something that's genuinely your own work.
So what we've seen here is a complete shift. We started out lost in that frustrating research maze, and now we've ended up with a clear, structured, and incredibly powerful path forward. It really does have the potential to transform the literature review from being a total chore into a genuine process of discovery.
And really, that brings us to the most important question. When you take away all that friction, when you streamline the process of finding and understanding scientific evidence, it frees up your mind to focus on what actually matters: thinking, connecting the dots, and pushing knowledge forward. So, with research this streamlined, what will you discover next?